Well, now as the U.S. and the world monitors the situation between Russia and Ukraine, stateside, a bipartisan group of senators issuing a statement in support of its U.S. ally, saying, quote, they stand in solidarity with Ukraine and back sanctions on Russia. Joining us now to discuss is Homeland Security member Congressman Jeff Van Drew, a Republican from New Jersey. Congressman, thank you for coming on today. Now, despite the message of support for Ukraine and also for sanctions against Russia, Senator Bob Menendez, a Democrat from New Jersey, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, blasted a Republican bill aiming to impose sanctions against Russia, saying in part, quote, it's a shame that Senate Republicans have decided to choose partisan posturing instead of working to reach consensus on a comprehensive bipartisan proposal that would demonstrate a unified front to deter Putin from reinvading Ukraine. The bill he was referring to includes halting the construction of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, financial sanctions on Russian banks, $500 million in security assistance for Ukraine. What do you make of this sort of lack of a decision, I guess you could say, lack of a bipartisan approach when it comes to dealing with Russia at this very tense time?
Well, obviously, it's much preferred to have a bipartisan approach. Let me make something very clear that we hear from our people, whether it's in Homeland Security at the committee level or just talking to folks at home. People do not want American troops with boots on the ground there. So that's clear. So our options are limited to some degree. One of them is sanctions. And certainly sanctions can be effective, especially if they're strong sanctions. And then you have to decide if you want to do the sanctions before or after. In other words, if nothing happens, thank God, but if something happens once the Russians are engaged, they're going to continue to be engaged. So that's of a real concern as well. I would have preferred that we started out with some sanctions, showed that we were real serious, didn't want them doing this without, again, committing troops there. You know, one interesting thing about this that a lot of people say to me, our border is open in the United States of America. Our border is just leaking everything you could possibly have come into the country. People who are criminals, people who are sick, people who are involved with the drug cartel. And you know what Americans are saying? They're saying, take care of our border. We're worried about our own border more than we're worried about even what's going on with Ukraine. So sanctions, yes, I can certainly see that that's a possibility and something that we, need obviously to look into. But I don't believe, and I really want to emphasize this because I hope it's not where the president is going. I do not believe that we should put our men and women on the ground in Ukraine.
Again, we've seen troops deployed from Fort Bragg, headed to the region, to the area, to nearby countries, but not to Ukraine. It was a promise that the president had made that U.S. troops would not fight in Ukraine. We'll watch what happens there. Again, we've heard reports again of troops, Russian troops, leaving the border area. But what have you heard in regards to the number of troops from Russia, your anticipation of a possible invasion? Have you seen more clarity in your briefings?
There seems to be slightly more clarity that we may be going, hopefully, in a better direction. But Putin's a wily guy. I mean, you got to be careful with him, and you don't know what he's really up to. Hopefully, that's the direction that we are going in for NATO, for the world, for Ukraine, and truthfully for Russia. This isn't a good thing to do. Now, when we talk about, the Nord Stream 2 and the pipeline, that was a huge mistake. Huge mistake that this president and this administration made among many, many mistakes. You can build your pipeline. You can make, he says to Russia, you can build your pipeline. You can make everybody dependent upon you in Europe, especially Germany. However, we're going to stop building ours.
Right.
That makes us weaker, makes them stronger. Who in God's name would ever do that? I don't know, but it's just one of the many things that he's done during his administration that makes absolutely no sense to me.
And there do remain concerns that an invasion could mean higher energy prices that the United States would face as well as a result. Congressman,
it will mean higher energy prices. There's no doubt.
We've already seen an increase in gas prices.
The production dip that this president put in place by limiting production has made us get on our knees now and beg everybody else, Russia and obviously all the oil producers, for more petroleum products. It was a terrible mistake to make again as well.